Welcome to GOS Media. I'm Samantha Van Valkenburg. A young lady was quite the perfectionist. Every morning she woke up early to have the perfect hair, with the perfect makeup, and the perfect outfit. She would drive her perfectly tuned car in a perfectly safe manner and park it perfectly in the parking space while taking the elevator to her office. She would sit with perfect posture at her perfectly organized desk and ensure her work was perfectly performed. Yep, she was a real perfectionist, and heaven forbid that anything happened that would throw off her perfectly structured and organized life, else she would be perfectly distraught. Perfectly driving home from a perfect day of work and arriving home perfectly on time, she found a homeless man going through her perfectly filled trash can. Ugh, she thought, my perfect day is going to be perfectly ruined by this man that looks like a perfect homeless guy, messing up my perfect routine of perfectly preparing and perfectly consuming my perfect meal. Well, isn't this setback just perfect? After giving this perfect homeless man a perfectly good lecture, reminding him he had ruined her perfect day, the homeless man told her he had a perfect gift that could fix her imperfect attitude. He handed her a pocket watch and explained that if she dialed the hands backwards, she could go back in time 10 minutes and correct any imperfection she encountered. With perfect skepticism, she took the watch, dialed the hands back, and in perfect astonishment and disbelief, her trash can was back in its perfect place with the lid perfectly atop. Looking down the sidewalk, she saw the homeless man walking towards her. Passing her by, their eyes met, and she saw that déjà vu look on his face. Perfect, she exclaimed. This indeed is a wonderful gift. And the homeless man was correct. She would never have to worry about imperfections anymore. Her life was now complete, or so she thought. The next morning, she went through her perfect routine of preparing for work, but she wasn't certain if her blouse perfectly matched her pants. So she wound the watch back, tried on the other blouse, and sure enough, her outfit was perfect. The perfect lady used the pocket watch no less than 10 times per day. After about a week, she noticed something odd in the mirror. Our perfect perfectionist began noticing gray hairs forming in her perfectly maintained hair. Odd, she thought to herself, shrugging her shoulders. She continued with her primping and preening, remembering that her grandmother also had premature gray hair. After another week had passed by, she now began noticing wrinkles around her lips and small bags forming under her eyes. She immediately contacted her doctor for an appointment, not because she was feeling bad or worried about any sickness. Our perfectionist was scheduling Botox injections. She was far too perfect to let her perfect face become perfectly flawed. It took a couple more weeks of using the watch 10 to 12 times per day. The perfectionist came to the stark realization that it wasn't early onset wrinkles or premature gray hair. She herself was prematurely growing perfectly old. It also dawned on her that the pocket watch had something to do with it. Frantically, she bolted out the door and began driving around searching for the homeless man. Street after street and neighborhood after neighborhood, she drove around. Just as she was about to lose hope, she found the homeless man across town going through somebody's trash can. She immediately jumped from her vehicle, and with the pocket watch dangling from her outstretched arm, she confronted the homeless man. The homeless man calmly and casually allowed the woman to perfectly cuss him out, demanding a perfect explanation. After allowing her to perfectly exhaust herself, the homeless man stopped rifling through the trash can and looked at an old woman in a perfect state of confusion and fear. Well, ma'am, I bet you've heard the phrase, time waits for no one, the homeless man began, and the truth is, nothing is more true than the truth that time waits for no one. You see, there's a cost to be paid for dabbling with the fabric of time. Every occasion that your compulsion to be perfect overwhelmed you and you turned the clock back 10 minutes, it cost you a week of your life to return to the present. Perfectly stunned, she dropped the dangling pocket watch into the trash can. As the homeless man watched her drive off in perfect silence, a perfectly tuned and cleaned car screeched to a halt, and a perfectly manicured woman with perfect hair jumped from the car in her perfectly matching outfit and began shouting at the homeless man that he had perfectly ruined her perfectly good day by destroying her perfectly stowed trash. The homeless man reached into the trash can, pulled out the pocket watch, and told her he had a perfect gift that could fix her imperfect attitude. Now, there's a high probability you grew tired of hearing the word perfect in today's story. Let me assure you, I grew weary of saying perfect. This we did in hopes of providing just a glimpse of the fatigue some people experience every day trying to be perfect in every way and everything. Those who ascribe to astrological signs and horoscopes tell us that Virgos are perfectionists. Yet, we all know that perfectionism is not isolated to some outdated prognostication based upon the folly of stargazing. Any person born at any time and anywhere can be a perfectionist. You probably know one or two yourself, or maybe you're the one yourself. You know, those compelled and driven with a relentless pursuit to avoid the smallest error, seeking to avoid imperfection of any kind, full of angst and frustration because they can't or won't accept the truth that life is messy and people are imperfect. Now, hold on. Don't let us cloud the issue. It is proper and correct to do our work with excellence and to avoid making mistakes and errors with all things we lay our hand and mind to accomplish. We must, at all costs, avoid being sloppy, nonchalant, and careless in all things. It is when we overly react, grow angry, freak out, become depressed, lose sleep, or become near dysfunctional because we make a simple, honest mistake that we might need to recall today's grain of sugar as a warning. Perfectionism is not a trait, it is a disease. Did a simple, honest mistake once cause you grief to near dysfunction? And somewhere along your journey, you've learned contentment with the reality that life is messy? How about helping some of us in the colony to overcome our overreaction to uh-ohs by sharing your story in the comments below? If you'd like to help us continue, then we'd appreciate your support. The easiest way to do so is to simply like, subscribe, and share GOS with others. Or become a colony member by joining us on Patreon or snatch up some merch from our website. Or maybe you could buy the crew a cup of coffee. Links are pinned below. Once again, thanks for tuning in to Grains of Sugar. I've been your host, Samantha Van Valkenburg.